Episode, why co-creation is a new way to build a healthy, sustainable relationship. So, I gotta say, co-creating a relationship, that to me, especially lately, it's a 51-year-old man who has been married, uh, now second marriage, and many 3-year relationships, and of course, helping many people with their relationships and all that. For years, co-creating to me just feels like it just lands for me. I love the word co because it means a collaboration. It means we are doing this together. We are equals, right? I also love creating. So the word creation is like we're building something from scratch and we're building something that is honest to us, that is not residue or blueprints from previous relationships or even previous generations, right? And so this idea of co-creating a relationship, it just I just feel like it's the perfect word into it's into the mindset of building something that is healthy and sustainable. So the problem with traditional relationship models is that relationships often rely on outdated dynamics, right? Rooted in predefined roles and societal expectations. So, one example of this is the lopsided domestic labor. Let me give you an example. I grew up in the 80s. My parents are old school Korean. And I don't remember my dad picking up not even one dish or folding one piece of laundry. And listen, they've been programmed, right? So they took on very specific roles, like what a wife does and what a husband does. My mom worked full time. She also made my bed. I don't know if it's all Koreans, but they didn't give me any chores. I never got grounded. My brother and I were very spoiled, and so my mom did everything. She cooked, she cleaned, she did the laundry, she made the kids' beds, she cleaned the house. And I remember um, I grew up in a house where my dad would like yell to, for my mom to fetch him water and stuff, right? Now, growing up in a house like that, it's easy for me to then copy and paste that into my relationships. And I think early on, I did a little bit, uh, and of course, it did not work. That shit did not fly. Um, and of course, it doesn't, right? Because it's they're old models that don't work, and today we want something that is not only more fair, but we want something because uh, we want something different, better, something that works more for us. And so that's just a simple example of an old model is the distribution of domestic labor. But of course, that's just one piece. There are so many. It could be things passed down from generations. It could be based on society, your environment where you live, right? So these models can lead to imbalance, unspoken resentment, and stagnation over time. This is why a lot of our parents ended up sleeping in separate rooms. All right, the benefits of co-creation. So, co-creating shifts the focus from finding the right person to building the right relationship. Finding the right person to building the right relationship. That turning of a dial is huge, right? Finding the right person puts a lot of weight on how a person should be. Finding the right person puts expectation, pressure, and a finger pointed at that person, right? Building the right relationship now takes it away from that person. And now both people are responsible and they're now going to build something together, right? Co creating encourages both partners to stay actively engaged in the relationship's growth. Co creating fosters mutual respect, adaptability, and a sense of shared purpose. These are huge. They kind of like create the tracks of the relationship. What is co-creation? It's a collaborative, intentional approach, and I also love the word intentional approach where both parties contribute equally to the relationship, a dynamic process creating. Both partners have equal influence over the direction and health of the relationship. And by the way, if you're listening to this or watching this and there's something being activated in you and you're like, what? Um, I just I just want you to look at it because it's probably residue from old models. And so when you hear something that is new and different, it might bring you resistance, right? If you think something should be a certain way and then you hear, oh, it doesn't have to be that way, there's going to be some pushback. And so just to look at that, I think is important. So, under mutual responsibility, the relationship is viewed as a partnership, not a hierarchy. So, the other word I love, which I think is so healthy, is partnership. When you think about like partnering with a business, like in a business with a business partner, what comes to your mind? Like, who isn't it like who's going to bring what to the table and what is fair? Like if you're equal partners in a business, you're talking about so many things so people feel seen, understood, valued, and that it is a fair playing field, right? But then when it comes to romantic relationships, we don't approach them that way. And I think this is a generalization, but overall, um, men, just because of our society and because of patriarchy and because of how we were raised, and also if you're a minority man, maybe there's cultural stuff, right? So approach it like a business. Approach your relationship like a business partnership. I think that's kind of the fair way to do it. I know it doesn't sound sexy, but then you can see as what is fair, what is not, and stay away from the um, all the shoulds and all the blueprints and models that came before us that obviously didn't work. All right, number two, the mindset of co-creation is committed to growth. Both people have to have a commitment to want to be better, to want to grow, to want to evolve. If one person doesn't, there's going to be drift. There's going to be emotional drift. There's going to be the alignment is just not going to work, right? So it doesn't mean that both people are like on fire, to to do therapy and go on retreats. No, that's not what it means. It just means that generally two people are in it both with the intention and a commitment, not just the intention, but a commitment to constantly just be better and look at themselves, right? It just means that we are open to that. And that kind of slack is necessary, or the relationship can definitely break. So focus on progress, not perfection. See challenges as opportunities for deeper understanding and connection. And number three, a shared ownership of the relationship, right? So this isn't your fault. It's not my fault. This is the thing that we are building. It's like children. We are raising this child, and our contribution is going to directly impact um, the life of this child. And so we have to be responsible, take ownership, and also talk to each other and decide what is important to us. So, see, the relationship is kind of like that child that both of you guys are raising. Treat the relationship as a third entity that both partners are responsible for nurturing. All right, steps to co create a relationship. I want to give you guys some actual steps. So, this is practical. Step one, align on a shared vision and values, right? Discuss, and this is not like when you meet someone on the second date. I'm talking about decided after the knowing and the honeymoon, and you guys realize, okay, we want to build something together. It's important to discuss relationship goals. What does success in a relationship look like for each of you? Where do you individually, right? What do you guys want to build individually, and then how does that overlap? I love the idea that in a relationship, um, that you guys are kind of orbiting around each other or with each other. It's not like one person is rotating around the sun. That was me in a lot of young love, me putting my partner on a pedestal, and that person was my life. And I would just rotate around that person, right, as if that person was a sun. And that is codependent. That is not sustainable, right? Identify core values. Highlight values that are essential to both partners: trust, honesty, growth, adventure, right? Whatever your value is. I'm thinking like, what are some of my values? So for me, it would be being of service, helping other people. That's a big part of my life. Adventure, right? The play part of my life, uh, through adventure, connection to self, sexual expression, connection, intimacy. Those are huge. Their values, right? That's the way that I want to love. Trust, honesty, integrity, right? All of those. So we just have to talk about, like, take all your values and dump them out if they're a puzzle. Your partner does the same, and just to see where they align, and how many match. I don't think the puzzle analogy is a good one. I don't think that makes sense. What's the game where you like put a number and then the other person has to match that, and then that becomes, a point. Then you put another number. Anyway, okay. The other one is build a joint vision, create a shared relationship manifesto or vision statement that defines your goals as a couple, right? You can have individual goals, but also as a couple, what do you want to build? What do you guys want to do in this world? Like, how do you guys want to show up as a couple? Um, I'm going to totally date myself, but there's a robot toy in the 80s called Voltron. I had this robot, I was obsessed with it. And in order for that giant robot Voltron to save the planet, the pieces of the robot, there would be mechanical lions, robot lions that came together and to create something greater. And I know this is an 80s reference, but it always makes me think about a relationship because I feel like we are the lions, and then the lions come together to build something greater than ourselves, than its parts, which is this giant robot, right? And so I think with a relationship, yes, there's your partner, but then there's something that is greater that both of you guys are building, and so you guys coming together to build this giant robot. Step two, commit to open and honest communication, right? And this could be daily check ins, this could be, whatever that looks like. But you have to be doing life with each other, not at each other or around each other. Sharing kind of how you feel, expressing gratitude, concerns, what you guys want to work on, and you're not like telling your partner, what's wrong with them, right? You're not assassinating character. You're communicating openly by sharing your state, just what's going on in your life, checking in, and you also have to be careful that you're not vomiting on the person, right? You're not taking someone hostage. If you're going through a winter, open communication doesn't mean to take your partner, sit them down, and tell them how much life sucks and how shitty things are and how hopeless you feel. There is a responsibility to open communication, right? I think it's important to think about how your words, actions, and energy is going to impact your partner, before you kind of do the check in. um, that being said, you do have to be vulnerable and transparent, right? You don't want to filter it so much that what's coming out is super polished and distant, if that makes sense. Use empathetic communication. You've heard this before, but focusing on I statements, to express needs, desires, wishes, without assigning blame. Create space for vulnerability. Encourage sharing of fears, insecurities, and dreams that deepen the trust. Step three, establish and honor healthy boundaries. Define non negotiables. Clearly articulate what is necessary for each person to feel safe and respected. And listen, your definition may be different than your partner's, and that's okay, right? We are different. We all have different stories. We all are wired differently. Our love language is different. Our attachment style is different. So it's just trying to understand, right? You're not abandoning yourself. You are. I always say relationships involve compromise, but not compromise of self, of course, right? And so just clearly articulating what is necessary for each partner to feel safe, and respected. And what are some things that are important to you? Feeling heard, feeling safe, feeling desired, etc. Foster individuality. This means that you got to have your own life. In my younger relationships, I didn't have a life. My life was the relationship, right? I didn't care about friends. I didn't care about doing things on my own. I was just kind of a loner who put all his chips on love and this person. And of course, that is not healthy. In my new book, which probably won't be out for another year, I do have a new book called Break Up on Purpose, but I'm writing another book. This one's about love. It might be called Loving on Purpose. But yes, on purpose is they're trying to franchise this thing. So I always get a little bit embarrassed when I'm talking about the on purpose brand because I feel like a sellout. It's not. It's John. You're not a sellout. You're just you're branding. That's what you're doing. You're branding. But in this book, I talk about um, this image I saw years ago, and I've shared this before many times, and it just hit me like what a healthy relationship looks like. And it was like a Viagra ad or a yogurt ad or something, and it was two people sitting in bathtubs, like old school bathtubs, on top of the Grand Canyon. They were old. They're like in their 70s, 80s. You know, it's like they've come a long way, facing in the same direction, looking out down at the world, and the only thing connecting them was their hands. They were holding hands outside the bathtub, and I thought to myself, "Wow, there's an image of what a healthy relationship looks like." Because for me at the time, it would have been a jacuzzi, two people sitting in the jacuzzi, naked on top of each other, facing each other. um, I guess can be sexy, but have you sat in a jacuzzi? After about 20 minutes, you want out, right? It's claustrophobic, it's hot, it's anyway. So think about that image when you think about co-creating, right? Co-creating is not the jacuzzi image; it's the two tubs, people in two separate tubs, their own containers, having their own lives, right? Allow space for personal hobbies, interests, and self-care without guilt. All right, revisit boundaries over time as a relationship evolves because relationships change, like any relationship, right? Adjust to boundaries and reflect current needs. This is important because a lot of times in relationships we tend to outgrow each other. People change, they don't talk, and that change becomes a drift. It becomes a crowbar instead of a bridge. um, we're supposed to change, we're supposed to grow, we're supposed to evolve, but the goal is to do it together, right? Not on your own, and you wake up one day and you're like, I don't know who this person is. Step 4: cultivate a culture of curiosity and growth. Practice active listening. Approach disagreements and conversations with curiosity instead of judgment. Explore new experiences together. I mean, this is huge. I'm always talking about date night and putting things in the calendar that get couples, especially if you've been together for a long time, to constantly just, do adventure together. Act like you just met and you guys were dating. Remember when you first meet someone and all the fun, exciting shit that you would do, and then over time it just slowly kind of like falls by the wayside. And I know we get responsibilities. I know, we have bills to pay, and for many of us, we're parents. Um, so all of that kind of just becomes extra, and then it's just like pajamas, Netflix, the same shit every day. Um, and it just becomes routine, and I think routine definitely can kill the spark, you know? And so actively going on date nights, experiencing new things together. I love like going on a motorcycle with my partner. I love working out with my partner. I love just doing things, traveling, just things that just make you feel alive, things that make you feel alive, you know? Individual growth, supporting each other's growth, celebrate and encourage personal achievements and efforts outside the relationship. As you're um, as you're listening to this, think about your last relationship. You know, and where did you fall short in your last relationship when it comes to cultivating a culture of curiosity or growth, or maybe your partner fell short. Maybe your partner did none of this, and that's part of why the plane went down. Number 5, resolve conflict collaboratively. This is huge. Relationships are all about the ability to repair. I mean, not the ability to rupture. It's not the ruptures are going to happen no matter what. It's the ability to repair the ruptures. It's not about how many times we fight, it's about how we fight. And if we don't know how to fight, it's just a matter of time before the relationship it just ends. And so to resolve conflict together in a healthy way, that is foundational, right? Embrace conflict as a tool for growth. We can actually get closer to people by working through conflict. A lot of people are afraid of conflict because of their stories. They run away from conflict. Conflict can be a good thing if we approach it in a healthy way to understand each other better. I mean, you could get closer to someone because of conflict, right? View disagreements as opportunities to learn about each other. Fight fair. Avoid name calling, personal attacks, a character assassination, right? Shutting down, stonewalling. All those things are in the rule book of the relationship. You can't do it, right? It's agreed upon that these are not fair tactics. Take breaks when emotions run high. All right, and then finally, find solutions as a team. You know, use we language. It's something you guys are both building, right? You guys are both responsible and taking ownership. It's collaboration over opposition. Okay, a few more steps. Step number 6, prioritize emotional and physical intimacy. I just mentioned this about scheduling date nights and making the effort because life can happen. Schedule regular connection time. Unplug from distractions and dedicate time to each other. I just laid down with my partner and I call this thing 5 minutes. Something I created years ago, where you just lay down with each other for 5 minutes. You don't have to be naked. It's not that kind of thing. It's just connecting, touching base. Um, we it doesn't matter how busy we are. We have 5 minutes. And so just to for me, it's just laying down, being calm, her head on my chest, me stroking her hair possibly, but just relaxing for 5 minutes, connecting. You can talk, you can not talk. It doesn't matter. It's about just being together in a safe space, um, just for 5 minutes. It reminds me of the Gottman's 3 second kiss, which I also believe in. Oh, no, it's a 6 second kiss. 6 second kiss. Have you tried kissing someone for 6 seconds? That's a long time. Most people don't. And so to get in a 6 second kiss, and it doesn't have to be like sexual, right? It doesn't have to be tongue time. It can just be, but it's also not a peck, right? It's just a nice 6 second kiss. I mean, there's so much connection in that. At least for me, it's just a way to connect, and it's stuff that is easy that we can do that we rarely make time for. Learn to speak each other's love language. This is important. I know in my relationship, um, I'm more words of affirmation. She's more acts of service, and so there is discrepancy, and to notice and to do what you can without abandoning self. To speak your partner's love languages, right, and then also for your partner to speak yours, right. There is a dance. There is a cadence. There is a getting to know each other and stretching, stretching without breaking yourself, right? Um, Compromise, but not compromise of self. That's part of the dance, right? Show love in ways that resonate most with your partner. Because if two people are doing that, right? If your partner is also stretching and expanding without breaking and trying to speak your love language as much as they could, and then you're doing the same, that creates a bridge. That creates bigger hearts. It creates effort. It creates this whole creation, or co-creating. There's an extension, right? If people are not doing that and they're like, I'm not budging, but you better love me the way I want you to. Now you're creating walls, you're creating shields. There is no nothing. You're in this alone, telling your partner how to love you. And there's a huge difference. Be fully present. Give your partner your undivided attention during moments of not only moments of intimacy, but just as much as you can. I think. All right, two more steps. Step 7, treat the relationship as a living entity. I always see relationships as a living, breathing thing, right? This maybe I don't want to say child that you're raising, but this thing that you're creating that's bigger than both of you, right? Check the pulse regularly. How are you guys doing? How do you feel about the relationship? What do you love about it? What do you want to work on? What do you think I need to work on? Approach it like it's a business you guys are building. I know it sounds very unsexy, but I mean that's to me that's super helpful. Celebrate milestones. I'm a huge belief in celebrating. I celebrate everything. I'm like, I don't know, you had a great day. Let's celebrate that. Let's go out to dinner. I don't feel like it has to be some huge thing to happen to celebrate. Someone, I don't know, you got your ass to the gym today, let's celebrate. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but celebrating milestones I think is huge. Acknowledge and honor progress, whether it's big or small. I gotta say, and I'm gonna add this, you gotta find beauty in the contrast. We are different creatures. We're usually attracted to people who are very different than us with different stories. And it's easy to look at the differences and then say, oh, because we're so different, maybe we're not gonna, maybe we're not compatible. I went through that in my current relationship. I went through a lot of that early on. And you got to really train yourself to see the beauty and the contrast, to see those differences as gems, and that it's okay that people are different, but then to appreciate the other person for their differences, right? That's when things tip. That's a lot of work, but it's necessary work. And I think when two people do that, again, you're creating a bridge instead of a wall. Invest in maintenance. Treat the relationship like an evolving project that requires ongoing effort, right? And finally, step eight, embrace flexibility and adaptability. Anticipate change. Your relationship's going to change. It's not like always, hitting bells every day. There's dips. I asked my partner Vanessa the other day. I was just fucking around. I said, "Hey, how in love are you with me right now in this moment, 1 to 10?" And she said 9.5. Yes, there's a little part of me. It's like, why not a 10? What's the other half? What's going? There's a part of me. It's like you don't give someone an A minus. You give them a B or an A. You don't give them an A minus. But anyway, um, that was just me asking her in this moment how she felt, and then then I responded as well. And it was just a reminder to me that relationships fluctuate. You know, no one's in love with someone 100% of the time. At maximum, we fluctuate as just like weather, right? All right, be willing to renegotiate, meaning periodically reassess needs, goals, where you're at, what you want, and expectations, and hopefully this is a constructive conversation. And you guys, whether you disagree or not, isn't it's not about that. It's about collaborating. It's about co-creating. It's about what else is possible, and and why do we have to follow any rules? We're building something that is honest to us, right? This is why I think there's an explosion of non-monogamy, because you could customize these days, right? And so whether that works for you, it doesn't matter. Um, what I mean, whether you believe it or not isn't the um, question. The question is, what kind of relationship do you want to build, and what works for you? If there were no rules, because you could customize anything today, including your relationship. All right, cultivate resilience. Build the capacity to face challenges as a team, turning adversity into growth. A few practices to strengthen your co-creation. Obviously, great gratitude, sharing things that you appreciate about each other daily. I definitely do work on that. Intentional time together, planning relationship check-ins, date nights, etc. Conflict recovery rituals. After disagreements, debrief together to ensure lessons are learned and feelings are mended. Celebrating wins, acknowledge both individual and relationship achievements to maintain positivity and the momentum. So here's some common pitfalls to avoid in co-creating: allowing the relationship to coast, right, without active effort from both partners. So that's passive engagement. Um, Also, rigid expectations, expecting your partner to always fulfill certain roles or meet static expectations. Um, I believe now more than ever, we're not a partner is not meant to fulfill all of our needs. It's impossible, and vice versa. Avoiding difficult conversations, ignoring issues rather than addressing them collaboratively. All right. In conclusion, I gotta say, building something beautiful together, I think, is kind of what life is about, right? It's not the only thing, but it's such a big part of life, and also how we learn, how we learn about life and ourselves is through relationships. We're not meant to do life alone. We're not that kind of creature. Co-creating a relationship is about building a life together that is uniquely your own. And there's something amazing about doing something with the current partner that you with or your next partner that is going to be uniquely yours, right? So you're not just like taking something from old relationships and getting the person to jump into that vase. You're not pouring that relationship into that old vase. You're creating something new. You know, it's not about finding someone to complete you or following a predetermined script. It's about showing up fully, growing individually, and thriving together. The best relationships aren't found, they're created, they're built. So think about co creating, what that would look like for you, and give yourself a new love experience. Thank you for listening. Be well.